you've been waiting. Maybe you don't even realize it, but you have. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for someone to notice you. Waiting for permission. Waiting for things to get easier. Waiting for luck to show up at your door. But here's the truth. Nobody wants to say out loud. Nobody is coming. Not your parents. Not your boss. Not the government. Not the universe. Not God with a special plan written just for you. Nobody is riding in on a white horse to fix your life, solve your problems, pay your debt, heal your pain, or hand you the future you've been dreaming about. Nobody is coming. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner your real life begins. Let me tell you something about waiting. Waiting feels safe. It feels responsible even. You tell yourself you're being patient. You tell yourself you're being realistic. You tell yourself that you're just not ready yet, that the timing isn't right, that once things settle down, once the kids are older, once you save a little more money, once you feel more confident, once the world stops being so chaotic, then you'll start. Then you'll make the move. Then you'll take the risk. But here's what waiting actually is. Waiting is fear wearing a costume. It dresses itself up as wisdom. It calls itself caution. It tells you it's protecting you. But what it's really doing is keeping you exactly where you are, comfortable enough to stay, miserable enough to complain, but never in enough pain to actually move. Waiting is a slow death, and most people don't even notice they're dying. Think about the people in your life who are stuck. You know them. Maybe you are one of them. The person who has been talking about starting a business for 10 years. The person who has been in the wrong relationship for so long they've forgotten what it feels like to be happy. The person who hates their job but shows up every single day because at least it's something. The person who has a dream they've never told anyone because saying it out loud might make the failure feel more real. What are they all waiting for? They're waiting to be rescued. They're waiting for someone to see their potential and pull them out. They're waiting for a sign. They're waiting for certainty. They're waiting for a guarantee that if they try, it will work. That if they leap, there will be something there to catch them. But life doesn't work that way. Life has never worked that way. The people who built something, who changed something, who became something, they didn't wait for rescue. They looked at their situation clearly, honestly, without flinching. And they said, if this is going to change, I am the one who has to change it. That is it. That is the whole secret. Now I want to talk about responsibility, because this is where most people check out. The moment you hear the word responsibility, something in you wants to defend itself. You want to list the reasons why your situation is different. You want to explain the circumstances, the childhood, the bad luck, the people who let you down, the systems that were stacked against you, the doors that were closed before you even got a chance to knock. And maybe all of that is true. Maybe you were dealt a difficult hand. Maybe life was genuinely harder for you than it was for others. Maybe you were hurt in ways you didn't deserve. Maybe the odds were against you from the beginning. I'm not here to dismiss any of that. But here's what I need you to understand. Your history is not your destiny. Explanation is not the same as excuse. You can acknowledge what happened to you and still choose what happens next. You can hold both things at the same time. The pain was real, and you are still responsible for what you do with it, because the alternative is to stay a victim forever. And being a victim feels righteous. It feels justified, but it is also a prison, and you are the one holding the key. Let's talk about self-rescue. What it actually looks like. Not the motivational poster version. The real version. Self-rescue is not glamorous. It does not happen in a single moment of inspiration. It is not one decision that changes everything overnight. It is not a viral story. It is not a transformation montage. Self-rescue is a Tuesday morning when you don't feel like it and you do it anyway. It is choosing the harder thing again and again and again, even when nobody is watching, even when nobody is clapping, even when it isn't working yet and you don't know if it ever will. It is having a conversation you've been avoiding. It is setting a boundary that makes people uncomfortable. It is admitting that you were wrong and then actually changing. It is stopping a habit that has been numbing your pain, because numbing your pain is also numbing your life. It is asking for help not because someone is coming to save you, but because you are smart enough to use every tool available. Self-rescue is quiet. It is daily. It is unsexy. And it is the only thing that actually works. Here is something that took me a long time to understand. Waiting for rescue is not just passive, it is actively destructive. Every day you spend waiting is a day you are not building. Every year you spend hoping someone else will fix it is a year of your one life gone. And the worst part is that while you wait, the voice in your head gets louder. The voice that says you can't. The voice that says it's too late. The voice that says you already missed your window. The voice that says people like you don't get those kinds of lives. And the longer you wait, the more you believe it, until one day you stop wanting the thing entirely, not because you actually stop wanting it, but because wanting something you never pursue is too painful. So you convince yourself you didn't want it anyway. You call it peace. You call it acceptance. But it is not peace. It is surrender. And there is a difference. Real peace comes after you have tried, after you have given it everything you had, after you can look yourself in the eye and say, I showed up, I did the work, I did not give up without a fight. That is peace. What most people settle for is resignation dressed up as wisdom. Let's talk about fear. Because fear is the engine behind all of this. Fear of failure. Fear of embarrassment. Fear of what people will think. Fear of finding out that even if you try your hardest, it still might not be enough. Fear of success, which sounds strange but is more common than you'd think. Fear of what changes when you change. Fear of losing who you are in the process of becoming who you want to be. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is information. Fear tells you where the important things are. The things worth doing are always on the other side of fear. If something scares you and it doesn't hurt anyone, that is almost always a sign that it matters, that it's real, that it's worth moving toward. The question is never, how do I stop being afraid? The question is, can I move forward while being afraid? Can I feel the fear fully and still take the step? Can I be terrified and still show up? That is courage. Not the absence of fear, action in the presence of it. I want to speak directly to the person who has been carrying something heavy. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's failure. Maybe it's a version of yourself you're ashamed of. Maybe it's a dream you abandoned. Maybe it's a relationship that fell apart. Maybe it's a decade that didn't go the way you planned. You have been waiting for someone to come and lift that weight off you. And I understand that. I do. Because that weight is real. And you are tired. And wanting someone to come and take it from you is one of the most human things there is. But the weight doesn't work that way. Nobody can carry it for you. They can walk beside you. They can love you while you carry it. They can remind you that you are stronger than you think. But the carrying, that is yours. And here is what I need you to know. You are more capable of carrying it than you believe. You have already survived every hard thing that has ever happened to you. Every single one. Your track record for getting through difficult days is 100%. That is not nothing. That is everything. Here is what saving yourself looks like in practice. It starts with honesty. Brutal, uncomfortable, no excuses honesty. You look at your life as it actually is. Not as you wish it was. Not through the filter of who you used to be or who you plan to be someday. You look at it right now, today, and you ask yourself one question. Is this the life I want? Not, is this the life I deserve? Not, is this the best I can do given my circumstances? Is this the life I want? If the answer is no, then the next question is, what is one thing I can change today? Not everything, not a complete overhaul. One thing, the smallest possible action in the direction of something better. That is how it starts. Not with a grand gesture, not with a perfect plan, with one honest moment and one small move. And then you do it again tomorrow and the day after that. And slowly, without drama, without a rescue, without anyone coming to save you, you begin to build something. The most dangerous lie you will ever believe is that someone else holds the key to your life, that your happiness depends on another person changing, that your success depends on someone finally recognizing your worth, that your healing depends on someone apologizing, that your future depends on circumstances outside your control shifting in your favor. Because as long as you believe that lie, you are powerless. And powerlessness is comfortable in a terrible way. Because it means nothing is your fault. But it also means nothing is in your hands. The moment you take responsibility, everything changes. Not because the circumstances change immediately. They usually don't. But because you change. Your relationship to your own life changes. You stop being a passenger and become the driver. You stop asking, when is this going to get better? And start asking, what am I going to do about this? That shift from passenger to driver is the whole thing. That is saving yourself. You do not need more information. You do not need another book, another podcast, another video. You already know what you need to do. You have known for a while. The knowing is not the problem. The doing is the problem. So here is what I want you to do. Not someday. Today. Right now after this ends. Think of the one thing you have been putting off. The one conversation, the one decision, the one first step you keep promising yourself you'll take when you're ready. You're ready. You have always been ready. Nobody is coming. Shh. Let me start with something most people never admit. You have been the problem. Not the only problem. Not always the biggest problem. But you have played a role in keeping yourself exactly where you are. And I know that lands hard. I know it feels unfair. But it is also the most freeing thing I can say to you. Because if you are part of the problem, that means you can be part of the solution. You cannot fix what you refuse to see. And most people spend their entire lives refusing to see. There is a version of your life that exists just on the other side of one honest conversation with yourself. One moment where you stop performing, stop explaining, stop defending, and just look. Just see it clearly. What is working? What is not working? Who you are becoming? And whether that person is someone you actually want to be. That conversation is available to you right now. Most people never have it. They stay busy instead, because busyness is the perfect hiding place. If you are always moving, always doing, always scrolling, always consuming, you never have to sit with the silence. And in the silence is where the truth lives. The truth about what you actually want. The truth about what you have been avoiding. The truth about the version of yourself that you have been promising to become someday. Someday is not a day of the week. Someday is where dreams go to die. I want to talk about the stories you tell yourself, because everyone has them. The story about why you are different, why the rules that apply to other people do not apply to you, why your situation is more complicated, more painful, more impossible than what other people have faced, and maybe parts of that story are true. But here is the danger. The story becomes a wall. Every time an opportunity comes, the story explains why it will not work for you. Every time someone offers advice, the story explains why that advice does not apply to your unique and impossible circumstances. Every time you get close to something real, the story pulls you back to the comfort of being someone who cannot. The story is the cage, and you built it. Which means you can also unlock it. Here is what I want you to try. Just once, for one day, live as if the story is not true. Live as if the obstacles you have been carrying are lighter than you think. Live as if you are actually capable of the thing you keep telling yourself you cannot do. See what happens. Because here is what I know. The people who change their lives are not smarter than you. They are not more talented than you. They do not have easier circumstances. What they have is a different relationship with their own excuses. They hear the excuse and they move anyway. They feel the resistance and they step forward anyway. They do not wait until the story changes. They act until the story becomes irrelevant. That is the only difference. Let me talk about the people around you, because this matters. The people you spend the most time with are shaping who you are becoming. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way you can easily see. But slowly, quietly, every conversation, every habit they normalize, every standard they set or fail to set is pulling you in a direction. And the question is, which direction? Are the people around you building something? Are they honest with you? Do they challenge you? Do they hold you to a higher standard than you hold yourself? Or do they make it easy to stay comfortable? Do they validate every excuse? Do they celebrate standing still? You do not need to cut people off, but you need to be honest about what each relationship is doing to you, because you will become the average of what surrounds you. And if everything around you is stagnant, you will stagnate. If everything around you is moving, it becomes almost impossible not to move with it. Choose your environment like your life depends on it. Now I want to talk about time, because this is the one thing nobody wants to face. You are running out of it, not in a morbid way, in a real way, in a mathematical way. If you are 30 years old and you plan to live to 80, you have 50 years left. That sounds like a lot, until you subtract sleep, until you subtract the hours you will spend working a job you did not choose, until you subtract the maintenance of being a human being, the cooking, the commuting, the errands, the obligations. What is left is a thin slice of actual life, and you are spending it waiting. Every year you delay is a year you do not get back. Every decade you spend in the wrong direction is a decade of compounding loss. And the painful irony is that the longer you wait, the harder it becomes, not because you are less capable, but because the weight of regret gets heavier. The voice that says it is too late gets louder. And the gap between who you are and who you wanted to be grows wider. The best time to start was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. I want to talk about what consistency actually feels like. Because we talk about it like it is heroic, like it is this dramatic, inspiring thing. Consistent people wake up at 5 in the morning feeling electric and motivated and ready to conquer the world. That is not what consistency feels like. Consistency feels like doing the thing when you are tired, when it has stopped being exciting, when the results are not showing up fast enough and you cannot remember why you started, when the work is boring and the progress is invisible and every reasonable part of you is saying this is not worth it. And you do it anyway, not because you feel like it, not because you are inspired, but because you are inspired, but because you made a decision and you are someone who keeps their word, even to themselves, especially to themselves. That is the real definition of discipline. It is not motivation. It is not willpower. It is the relationship you have with your own commitments. Do you keep them or do you not? Because every time you break a promise to yourself, you are teaching yourself that you cannot be trusted. And every time you keep one, even a small one, even an easy one, you are building a different kind of evidence. Evidence that you are someone who shows up, someone who follows through, someone whose word means something. That evidence accumulates. It becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. Let me say something about comparison. Stop looking at where other people are and using it as evidence of where you should be. Someone else's timeline is not your timeline. Someone else's path is not your path. The person you see winning on social media is showing you the highlight reel of a journey you know nothing about. You are seeing the result and none of the work, none of the failure, none of the years of being invisible before anyone paid attention. Comparison is theft. It steals your focus from your own work and puts it on someone else's. And while you are watching them, you are not building. While you are measuring yourself against them, you are falling further behind yourself. The only comparison that matters is who you were yesterday. Are you slightly better today? Slightly more honest? Slightly more disciplined? Slightly more kind? Slightly more brave? That is the only scoreboard worth watching. I want to end this the same way I started, with the truth. Nobody is coming. Not a mentor who will finally see your potential. Not a breakthrough that will make everything clear. Not a perfect moment when all the conditions align and the fear disappears and the path forward is obvious. It is never going to be perfect. The fear is never going to fully go away. The timing is never going to feel exactly right. But you are here, right now, with everything you actually have, with everything you actually know, with every scar and every mistake and every lesson and every quiet strength you have built without even realizing it. That is enough. You are enough. Not someday. Not after you fix the things you think are broken. Not after you become the person you think you need to be first. Right now. As you are, nobody is coming. Shh.